right.
So it's just you and me, Cindy.
Looks like it.
At least for a while. I would imagine Tammy will be back at a minimum. But the others, if they come, great. If not, that's all right. I'm happy to work with you too. Um, so let me get my PowerPoint up here. Did you have a look at my PowerPoint presentation?
I did not. I didn't see it come through as a link. I couldn't find the link.
I thought I attached it in the announcements.
No, I didn't see the link to it.
Well, that's all right. You'll see it on my desktop when I open it up. Okay. So I'm going to share my desktop now. Do you see it loading, or do you see it the visual?
It's starting to load.
Okay, great.
There it is.
Welcome officially to the Week 6 live session. Tonight's objectives. Well, I'm going to take roll eventually, and you have an opportunity, of course, to ask your questions. We'll look at the week's objectives and assignments and anything else you want to talk about, and then that'll be it. Okay, Tammy's back.
Great.
I still am not getting any audio. Well, a couple of things, Tammy, before you're going to try something else, and that's fine. Of course, over on the left side of your screen at the bottom, you see that little, looks like a square, like a conversation thing. If you click on that, there's a text thing, and I'm just going to say hi, Tammy, so you know what I'm talking about. There's a text thing that you can use to let me know what's on your mind. Throw that out there. Hey, Will. Good to see your icon. You are muted, sir. Welcome.
Sorry, I'm running just a couple minutes late. My apologies, sir.
No worries. We are just starting. It's just a very few of us, and, that's fine. Good to see you.
The usual suspects, I see.
Yeah, pretty much. Tammy's having some audio difficulties, so we're not getting an audio feed. She's kind enough to share the video feed, and of course there's that text thing, that you can do. So however it works, I'll try to keep an eye on that, Tammy. As you have questions, just pluck them in. But I've started the recording already, and there's tonight's objectives. Should look pretty familiar, and let's get going.
There's a story there. We got to hear the story.
There is a story there. My sister, when I lived in California about, I left in 2012 for a number of reasons. But in any case, my family lived in the Sacramento area. My sister used to throw this Gilligan's Island party once a year. And it was a costume party, and everybody had to dress up like a character on the island. This is actually not Mr. Howell, for those of you who know Gilligan's Island. Okay.
I do.
This was it's a guest. Phil Silvers played a movie producer. His name was Harold Hecuba, and this is my Harold Hecuba costume. My family is knee-deep in Gilligan's Island trivia and so forth, so it works for us. But anyway, that's where the picture came from. I thought you'd get a kick out of it.
Yeah, that's cool.
Any questions off the top?
No.
Let us move on. So the week 6 objectives, and the week 6 being focused on the management function of control, you might imagine that our objectives have a lot to do with that. So there was in the chapter the elements of the control process, and I think I have those handy. So I can bring those up. Yeah, this is from chapter 16 in the reading. And these 4 steps are operative here. And they should look familiar because they're basic things you do as part of a tactical or strategic plan. Basically, you talk about the outcomes you want, and then you've got to develop measures to be able to measure those outcomes. And then you compare the performance to the standards, and you come up with what's called in the parlance a gap analysis, the gap between what you expected and the actual performance. And then you take corrective actions to eliminate or reduce those gaps, or you reconfigure the measure or the strategic objective, however it works for you. So this is stuff like, I'm sure, Will, it looks familiar from your military background, but it's a very logical way of looking at control as a process. Make sense?
Yeah. From your experience, I mean, do you see any pitfalls there?
No, as long as there's well understood as a concept, as long as it's well understood as a concept, that strategic plans must have built-in flexibility to be altered when things don't work as planned. One thing we know about plans, whether they're battle plans or strategic plans or whatever, the future, when it becomes the present, is going to make nonsense of some portion of the plan. It's just inevitable. I don't know of an exception. So there has to be a level of understanding that, oh, well, if this process doesn't work as we thought it might, we're ready to modify it. We're ready to junk it, if need be, to something that will work, so long as our goals are still appropriate and that we are meeting our mission statement and it is in accordance with our vision statement. All those things are supposed to roll up together. They're not isolated bits of information. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I see that from the strategy standpoint and the nesting, and the text kind of hinted at it, but to me, one of the real struggles is from the strategic planning and breaking it down into this is, we'll call it KPIs or whatever, but actually figuring out what's the right thing to measure. That's actually pretty complicated. And when you get down to the tactical level, or let's just say if the guy's running logistics or operation, there's a myriad of things that can be measured. And I don't know, I'd be interested from Sandy, your perspective at Grainger. I mean, that's kind of like a huge operation. I mean, do they measure like way too much stuff? Do they, or do they?
Everything. Yeah, we measure everything. I'll be honest, like we have SOPs or SWIs, whatever you want to call them, standard operating procedures for just about every function. And then they're measured by audits performed by leadership. We have productivity trackers and tools to make sure that our teams are holding a certain productivity level. So we measure attendance, accuracy, productivity, you name it, it's measured. Yep.
No.
And I think, that is organization dependent. One of the things that I found in trying to put together appropriate measures for government departments, local government departments, police department, parks and recreation, finance, solid waste, dozens of different departments, is that some things don't lend themselves very easily to being measured. So one of the things I was able to do and did do was to refer to like departments in other cities. And every company out there that sells anything is going to have some competition somewhere. And so you can borrow from each other, at least to some extent, I think, unless things are copyrighted and then you need permission. But other than that, you can borrow some of those things from like industries to assist you in developing your own measures. And if they're appropriate, okay. If they're not, junk them and make up your own. One of the things that happens in the development of strategic plans is the development of high-level measures, KPIs you mentioned, but also other higher-level measures from the folks who are assembled, who know the business and know the activities well enough to be able to develop an appropriate measure. Hey, Francine, good to have you with us.
Hi, sorry. It says traffic is horrible coming from LA to Oxnard. It's ridiculous.
Well, it always is.
Horrible. Hate it.
Oh, Tammy, I can't hear you, but I wanted to ask you about the weather in Maine. Yeah, she's going to type something for us, I hope.
Yeah, I just go, while we're waiting for that, sir. You know, I had some experience doing business development, and then I went to an operations role, and from that into sales management. And sales management, I mean, we used to track everything in operations, logistics, and that. You get to sales management, and it's like, okay, it's much more, I don't know, fast and loose. And things like that.
It's like trying to hold on to goop in your fingers.
Yeah.
It's not solid.
Right. And unfortunately, most people lock in on trailing indicators in sales as opposed to forward indicators like, you know, number of contacts and stuff like that. Anyway, it was just, it was a frustration for me. You know, there was a lot of learning there and like, okay, am I measuring the right thing? I don't know. What did Tammy come up with?
Tammy says it's crazy warm, 70 degrees in Maine.
Oh, wow.
Yep. Down in Atlanta, I got all the windows and air conditioning on. It's February.
All right, you guys. Anyway, I've got my my desktop up, and we're talking about the week 6 objectives, Francine, and we talked about the basic elements of the control process, and we've even started talking about some of the tools that are used in the control process. The metrics, which is the best way to get done what you want done in that regard, are also highly dependent on the company and the organization. What's important to some might not be important to others. But if you're not measuring, if you're not somehow getting to something that you can quantify, I don't see how you're going to be able to track improvements. How are you going to get better over time? Oh, yeah, we're better. Well, prove it.
Oh, if it's not measured, it's not important.
Well, yeah, and I think that's the case. So if I'd mentioned before local governments, and let's look at parks and recreation. You all probably have not worked in a parks and recreation department before. What types of things might you think would lend themselves to being measured?
Number of
Supplies.
visitors, how many people come in a given week or day?
I think that's trackable. Cindy, what'd you say?
Supplies to maintain your park. So how frequently are you going through your supplies and having some kind of cost analysis on maintaining your park?
Well, one of my favorite things is budget, yes. And every department in a government has a budget. And your fidelity to that budget is a big thing to budget people, which also lends itself to being measured. And that's kind of peripheral to what you were saying, Cindy.
So it's not budgeted at municipal level like the federal government budgets.
No, local governments are much different. For one thing, local governments at a department level develop and track revenues. So at the federal government level, other than like the Bureau of Land Management has a bunch of parks that they get park fees for. You know, people camp for the night or whatnot. Most government agencies don't generate revenues on their own. They're just given the money from tax collections. In local government, other than general government departments like finance or the city council or the municipal, well, not I was going to say municipal court, but that's a bad one because they do generate fees.
Yeah, they do. Wow.
But my point being that some departments just don't generate revenues, but most do. Police departments do. Fire departments do, like fire inspection fees and so forth. Hey, Mel, good to have you with us.
Hey, y'all.
I'm sorry if you can't see me. I've got my desktop up. We're talking about week 6 objectives and metrics.
Oh, wow.
Well, what types of metrics are you used to tracking, Mel, in your business?
On which, you mean like, I really don't understand the question. Hold on, go back to me.
Oh, that's all right. So you're a manager in a food service organization, right, Morrison? Yeah. Are you measuring things like waste?
Oh, yeah.
You got a meal count?
Yeah.
You've got, I don't know if you do salvage or not. I would hope not.
No, we have a tracking system with quarts where we measure the waste by quarts.
Okay.
And then the patient count is another way we measure our pieces of food. The millimeters in the pans, the 2-inch pans, 4-inch pans, they measure how much food we should be serving out of each pan also.
Yeah, so you've got a lot of measures.
Yeah.
Those are metrics.
So, and what my program actually started is we developed a database to track how many miles the nurses are driving to visits, and how long it's taking, and then how many visits are we behind each month. And then I took that information and put it into a dashboard so that everyone can see it.
That makes sense.
That's how we do our rounding also. We when we round with patients and visit patients, each person is responsible for speaking to 5 patients apiece and then getting a score from them.
Okay, great. How about, what's the right word? Palatability of food, tastiness, or satisfaction with meals. Do you have metrics for satisfaction from the folks you're serving?
Yes, it goes from a scale to 1 to 5, with 5 being very satisfied. And then we ask questions as far as, was the meal hot, cold? If you had to rate us today, was your service excellent from your CA, and so forth. We also ask about their interactions with their nurses, because we all, even though we're a separate entity from the hospital, we still have safety meetings with the hospital. So we have to report back any issues with that also.
I see. Well, yeah, you got lots of metrics.
Yeah, I just got off work, so I just got in.
Okay.
I just dealt with a patient that was unhappy with their food, and she just would not eat. And so we had to try to resolve that issue also.
Oh, that can be hard.
Yes, it is.
Okay, well, do you all have any questions regarding the week 6 objectives? Then let us move on. There are 2 assignments, and they're both individual in week 6. organizational metrics analysis. This is a new assignment that I developed because I didn't like the one that was there, and I'd worked with it a few classes. It had to do with a concept called the balanced scorecard. I'm not sure if that's in your readings or not. Regardless, this is the assignment I've got for you, and I think you'll find it much more to the point, let's say, because it directly involves metrics. So the idea being that you identify metrics from a current or past employer, or will your friend's outfit, which has been really helpful in terms of providing a platform for you. And then you discuss whether or not those metrics are successful, and if not, what's being done about them, that sort of thing. So I don't think it's going to be difficult for any of you. I've got one student who had already submitted his or hers. The final exam we talked about last week some, and now you're faced with it. Has anybody pushed the button to start it?
Oh gosh, no.
Yeah, I've got about 3 of them done from other students.
Wow.
So, the scores are a little higher than I thought. So maybe some of the discussion we've had at the very beginning of the class has been helpful in that regard. And then I put up a few practice questions at Francine's suggestion. I'm not really happy with those, Francine, but they do look like formatically some of the questions on the final exam. So
Okay.
I'm not going to take credit for those students doing higher than average, but I just hope it helps.
So I hope so too, because what I was thinking of, like, this whole class is talking about morale and what can you do to improve it when you get a bunch of students that are only getting 70s. Like, my question is what are we doing wrong so that students, otherwise you feel defeated, right? I don't know about anyone else, but a 70 doesn't please me.
Well, I thought we all agreed that with this group especially, my regulars at live sessions, y'all are going to be well into the 90s. Wasn't that the agreement?
I sure hope so.
That's the plan. I don't know if it's an agreement. That's the plan.
Well, yeah, I could see, and frankly, for as long as the final exam has been a part of this course, which has now been a couple of years, I would say, I can feel some of the air go out of it, some of the students who have taken it, which is why I've tried to put so much out there in front to have appropriate expectations on the part of the students about what the exam is, what they'll face, what it covers, at least as far as I can, while keeping it a what they call academically rigorous exam, and yet give people a good chance of getting a good score. I'm confident you guys are going to do well. So, anybody got plans when you're going to push the button and take it?
What's the last day we can do that?
That would be Monday, sir. Monday the 26th.
Oh,
I'm going to take it Sunday only because I'm working Saturday and I'm working Monday. So it's like Sunday is going to be my do all day.
Sunday is fun day. That's good.
I'm hoping Saturday, so I have Sunday and Monday to recoup before I start my next class. So
this is my last class.
Yeah, I think I'm going Friday because I'm off tomorrow. I got to work Saturday, Sunday, Monday.
Will?
yes, sir. Now, lady, I know a lot of the ladies here have been through a number of classes with University of Phoenix. This is my first one, and I'm just, I assume Professor Baker, you teach other classes as well, but is this typical somebody's yelling. Is this typical of, the graduate courses, or is this, are they pretty much run very, very similar to this?
Well, for the other classes I've taught, There is a good amount of similarity, yes.
I couldn't hear what you were asking, Will, but like I said, I did my whole undergraduate program at Phoenix. I did most of it on campus, but we still had to use the online part to submit our assignments and do our finals. And this is not my first class in the graduate program. This is my fourth or fifth, and it has been similar to this. The only difference with this class has been more informative with the live sessions, and I can say Mr. Baker has definitely answered all my questions when I asked. I had a little issues in other classes with professors not responding as quickly as he does, but I did enjoy it. This has been the best class. As far as the final goes, I think you're going to do well. I think it's going to, like you said, it's going to be fine. I've never missed more than 5 questions. I can tell you that in 5 years.
Okay, great.
So my experience through the master's, because this is my last class, this is the only class I've had to take a final in. But as far as the workload, as far as this is the first class I've had a live discussion into. But the participation and having group projects along with individual projects, that's pretty consistent with all the classes.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Francine.
You're welcome.
And just so you know, Tammy says, if you don't mind my translating, Tammy says she's going to do her exam Sunday, and she offers her congratulations to Francine.
Thank you, Tammy. I think this is your last class too, so congratulations to you too, girl. It's been a long road, but we did it.
I know, and Mel is clapping. Okay, any other questions on this week's assignments? Comments? Well, that is all I had. What else can I answer for you all? And let me see if I can turn off my screen share. Somebody keeps telling me there's something down here that will allow me to do it.
So it's on the blue, it's right next to the hang up button. You see that little screen there?
Yeah.
That has the arrow?
Yeah.
Click on that and you should be able to stop sharing.
I don't know why I can't, but I'm not seeing a stop.
Right at the top. Go right to the very top of the screen. It says stop sharing. Go up.
Oh, I see it. Hey, everybody.
That's it.
Thank you. Yeah, I've been looking down here somewhere, and it's up there. So,
Well, I would say, I mean, I haven't done any of these other classes, but
Go.
just the only thing I would just like to echo what Francine and Mel said is, you know, I think this is an important part of, you know, the University of Phoenix kind of taking the next step. And it's kind of hard to collaborate to people you don't have any idea who they are, you know, when people get comfortable with this technology, I think it's important. So, I mean, I understand that University of Phoenix can't make it mandatory, but I think over time, more and more people will get familiar with it.
I think so too. And yeah, I'd love to see it a regular feature of graduate and undergraduate courses. Did anybody try the Jeopardy game? That is no kid in my house.
That's you, Mel.
So Tammy tried the Jeopardy game. What'd you think, Tammy? I took a University of Phoenix training for faculty on various platforms for providing supplemental information, and this Jeopardy, it's jeopardylabs.com. This Jeopardy link was something I thought was fun. So it's just a refresher. There's nothing mandatory or anything about it. It may help you with the final exam. It's not directly related to the final exam. You might take it.
Is it like the Jeopardy? Is it like when you press the button like 100, 200, and you guess the answer and it tells you if it's right or wrong?
That's it.
Do we get participation points if we do it?
If there's nothing for me to track about participation, but if you write me a note and say, I took the Jeopardy game and this is what I thought of it, yes, you'll get participation for that posting.
Done.
Okay.
Good question.
Well, is there anything else, you guys?
No, I'm good.
Okay, well, I want to tell you, you've all been a great group. You've been very loyal as far as the live sessions, which I've enjoyed, and that's mostly because of you guys. You know, you've asked some very good questions and helped each other along the way, and I do hope you get the opportunity again. We'll see how that goes. But thanks for joining me at the live session, and if you have any other questions or issues, you know, I'm in the classroom. Let me know. So y'all take care. Have a great evening, and we're going to shut it down for now.
Thanks. Goodbye.
Bye.
Hi, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.